When you think about the food on your plate, what pops into your head? Probably something like, farms, sunny orchards, something natural, right? Well, today, we're going to peel back that curtain. We're going to look at the secret science, the kind of strange tricks, and the biochemical wizardry that's behind some of the foods we eat all the time.
So, what if I told you your dinner is actually a science experiment? Because, in a lot of ways it really is. The stuff that looks so simple and, well, natural on your plate, it's often the grand finale of some seriously complex processes, some really delicate manipulation, and honestly, sometimes just pure scientific genius that we've been perfecting for centuries.
And that quote you see, it just hits the nail on the head. We're not just, picking things and eating them. No, we are actively changing them right down to the molecular level. So today, that's what we're going to dive into. We're going to explore exactly how we do it. We'll look at the microbial magic, the chemical transformations, and yeah, even the genetic tricks behind the food we eat every single day.
All right, first up, the masters of microbial magic. Let's start with a world you can't even see. I'm talking about the fact that some of the most beloved foods on the entire planet are created by these tiny, microscopic armies working just for us. You could call them our microbial chefs.
So think about this for a second. What could cheese, chocolate, and bread possibly have in common? I mean, they look different, they smell different, they taste completely different, right? But the one thing that connects them all, it's microbes. They are all products of microbial action. Without these tiny little helpers, these foods just wouldn't be what they are. They might not exist at all.
So, okay, let's meet the team, the big three: yeast, bacteria, and mold. Now, normally you might think of these as contaminants, right? Things you don't want in your food. But here, they're the stars of the show. They're essential ingredients. They're the little engines of fermentation that take basic, boring stuff and turn it into something amazing.
Let's take cheese, for example. At its core, making cheese is basically controlled spoilage. Yeah, really. It's this incredibly precise dance where bacteria and enzymes all work together to bunch up the proteins in milk. They turn this liquid that would go bad in a few days into a stable, complex, and, let's be honest, delicious food. Without that scientific control, you don't get cheese. You just get sour milk.
Okay, and what about chocolate? We all love chocolate, right? It's amazing. But the bean it comes from, the raw cacao bean, oh, it's awful. It's bitter, it's chalky, it's pretty much inedible. So how do we get from that to the blissful bar we all know and love? Well, it's a multi-stage scientific journey.
And every single step of this transformation is its own little science project. First, you've got fermentation. Microbes go to work on the pulp around the bean, and this creates the very first hints of that chocolatey flavor. Then comes roasting. This kicks off something called the Maillard reaction. It's the same thing that makes your toast turn brown, and it creates hundreds of amazing smells. And finally, there's conching, which is basically a mechanical stirring process that makes it smooth and gets rid of any nasty sour flavors. It's just pure food chemistry, right there in action. And of course, we can't forget bread. The science here is so common, we just forget it's science at all. The yeast eats the sugar in the dough, and as it does, it burps out carbon dioxide gas. That gas gets trapped in this stretchy web of gluten, which makes the whole thing inflate like a balloon. It's this simple, elegant biological trick that turns a heavy, dense lump of dough into a light, fluffy loaf of bread.
Okay, let's move on from microbes. Next up, chemical cures and transformations. Now, for some foods, we have to get in there with some direct chemical intervention just to make them edible in the first place. We're not just tweaking the flavor here, we are fundamentally changing a food's chemistry to make it safe to eat or even just taste good.
So, have you ever tried to eat an olive right off the tree? If you have, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, don't. Just trust me on this one. The reason they're so awful is a compound called oleoeuropene. It's basically the olive tree's natural defense system, and for us humans, it just tastes incredibly, intensely bitter.
So to make them edible, we literally have to chemically disarm the olive. We use things like lye or a salty brine or even fermentation. The goal is always the same though: break down that oleoeuropene or just wash it out. So that tasty little olive you pop in your mouth, it's not really a natural product. It's a biochemical artifact, a real testament to human cleverness.
And you know what? It's a pretty similar story with soybeans. If you eat them raw, they actually have compounds in them that stop our bodies from digesting them properly. But then we invented tofu, which is just a brilliant solution. You use salts to clump all the soy protein together into this digestible gel.
It unlocks all the nutrition in the bean and creates a totally new food with its own unique texture.
Now this next one, this is literally a matter of life and death. Cassava is a staple food for over 500 million people. It's a huge source of calories. But in its raw state, it contains compounds that can release cyanide. Yeah, poison. So, over generations, people developed this incredible traditional knowledge, which is really a form of applied biochemistry, to make it safe. They figured out methods like soaking, grating, and fermenting to detoxify the root.
Okay, for our last section, let's talk about the genetic flukes we eat. These are the foods that exist pretty much thanks to genetic oddities. They aren't just things we found in nature. They're the result of our ancestors spotting some weird mutation or genetic accident and thinking, you know what? We can work with that.
Now, the key scientific idea behind a lot of these is something called triploidy. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. Most living things, including us, are diploid. We have 2 sets of chromosomes. But sometimes a plant ends up with 3 sets, and that often makes it sterile. And for a piece of fruit, what does sterile usually mean? No seeds. The banana is the poster child for this. A wild banana, it's tiny and it's absolutely packed with these big, hard seeds. You wouldn't want to eat it. But the banana we all know and love, the big, sweet, seedless Cavendish, that's a sterile triploid clone. It can't reproduce by itself. Every single one you've ever eaten was grown from a cutting of another plant. It's a genetic fluke that we turned into one of the most popular fruits on Earth.
But here's the thing. The banana was kind of a happy accident we stumbled upon. The seedless watermelon? Oh, that's pure intentional science. It's an engineered hybrid. We figured out how to create it by deliberately crossbreeding watermelons that had different numbers of chromosomes, all to produce an offspring that's sterile and, you guessed it, seedless.
And get this one, this is truly incredible. Vanilla. The vanilla orchid evolved to be pollinated by just one specific species of bee, and that bee only lives in Mexico. So how do we get all that vanilla from places like Madagascar? Well, we do it. Humans. Every single vanilla flower has to be pollinated by hand, using a tiny little stick. The entire global vanilla industry depends on this super delicate, super tedious bit of human intervention.
So, okay, when you pull all of these different threads together, what's the big picture? You start to realize that the food on our plates is so much more than just fuel. It's a story of discovery, of innovation, and of some incredible scientific mastery.
I mean, think about it. We've harnessed armies of microbes. We've figured out how to detoxify poisons. We've coagulated proteins. We've manipulated genes. We've controlled enzymes. We have literally bent the rules of nature to get the flavors and textures we want. These aren't just recipes. They are the application of some really deep scientific principles.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Food is not simply nourishment. It is a scientific achievement. The history of what we eat is the history of science. It's this amazing achievement, this blend of biology and chemistry and culture that we get to participate in every single day.
And you know, this legacy of innovation is still going on. Scientists right now are pushing the boundaries of what's possible with food. So next time you're eating, maybe take a second to appreciate the hidden science in your meal. And it makes you wonder, right? Our plates are already full of these scientific marvels from the past. What are we going to create next?